later. So, yeah, just kicking off this morning, just wanted to ask you, if you had to summarize everything that God has done in one word here at Together Church, what would it be?
Good morning, everybody. It's so awesome to have you all here. Thank you for everyone who's here today and taking time. I just always want to take the time to actually say thank you, because it's not without you guys being present, this would not be the church community that it is. So thank you for being here. Okay, one word. Faithfulness. That is what I would say is God's faithfulness. We were talking this morning at prayer before we began service, and yeah, that would be my word, faithfulness.
Mine would be kind. I think Jesus has been very kind. Yeah, we've got so many things wrong, and done so many things the wrong way, and he's just continuing to be kind. And his kindness, I think, is got us to really well.
That's awesome. And when you look at the journey that we've all been on, what do you feel? Like, what is some of the feelings that kind of come to the top of mind?
Gratitude, thankfulness.
Yeah.
Overwhelming gratitude, I think. I mean, the fact that people would come, that you all would come to this church and call it your church, blows me away.
Yeah.
I punch myself in the morning that people would come. I'm like, are you sure you want to be here? I mean, Nicole's amazing, but are you sure you want us to be a pastor? It blows me away.
Yeah, I think that whole thing of like we get to do this, like looking at this room and going, wow, like we get to partner with God in his story. Like this whole story is not ours. Just to settle that right from the beginning, it's not our story. It always has been his story, and he birthed it, and that means that he's going to continue to sustain it as well.
Okay, so that's really awesome, and I think just fast forwarding, so 12 months into the future from this day, we're in the DeLorean, we've gone into the future. What are we celebrating here as Together Church? 2 or 3 words, Max.
I think I'll be on a tropical island
called Shelley Park.
Yeah, one word I would say would be strength, strong. I think of strong families, strong individuals, strong marriages.
I think just greater influence, greater strength, greater community. I just think the direction we're going is towards, I think, greatness as a community, not for our own sake, but for his sake.
Yeah.
Amazing Jesus.
Absolutely. So that's kind of like the top level, that's the cream on the top. Now we're going to kind of do a bit of a deep dive into our story. And really, the best place to start is always where? At the beginning. And so
I feel the song coming out on the side.
So I'd love you to take us back to the beginning. Where did this actually this whole journey start? And not necessarily just as a church, but in your lives, and where God was leading you from to and how he brought you to this point.
June 29th, 1984, saying your birthday, and we started.
It's a great place to start, but maybe let's fast forward a little bit.
Where did it all start? I think it started for us. I mean, the journey started 10, 12, 15 years ago. I mean, I was on staff at a local church here as a youth pastor. I mean, in some capacity since I was 18. Till the age of 30, and then when I was at the age of 30, we just really felt stirring to go do something different, and so we took a sabbatical to America, which was meant to only be a year, that then turned into 6 years, and then for God to then pull us out of that, which we thought was our forever home, to bring us back to a place that we never thought we'd come back to do something that we never imagined doing.
I think for me, just going back to the very beginning, like our roots here in East Auckland have been tried and true for a very long time. I think back as far as like my grandparents when they came out to build their property out here and to start out here. My nana and granddad are incredible people of faith who, my nana's still alive today, she's 94, and still prays for us and for this community like daily. She helped to start, they used to be part of Heart Baptist back in the day, and just in Heaven and then Eastgate. They've had a long journey of faith and faithfulness, and I think, man, and then my parents, they helped to start Eastgate, which was what was a plant back in the day. It came from Panura, and they decided to say yes to God and come with a group of families similar to what we've done, and to start out in East Auckland. So our roots go really deep here. It's not by mistake, I think, even though maybe we didn't think we were going to be here to start with. It was not by mistake that God decided to plant us right here in East Auckland. We are standing on the shoulders of people that have gone before us. The story didn't just start in April 2023, the story started long before, and I'm super just grateful for the family legacy that I have got to be a part of. It's not on my own shoulders,
Yeah, it's amazing to hear the kind of the family legacy that underpins the story already, and the call to be here in East Auckland. And what did it mean for you? Because obviously Martin just talked about the fact that you went to the States, and then there was a coming back in, like being sent out and then returning to East Auckland. What did it feel like for you to return?
I mean, it was difficult.
Yeah, I'll say at the beginning it was actually really hard.
I think our whole walk with Jesus has been pinpointed by moments of sacrifice, if I can put it that way. I think everyone in this room shares the same sentiment. It's what happens when you pursue Jesus, is he calls you to things. And when he calls you to things, he asks you to sacrifice something. And those things that you sacrifice aren't always bad things. Sometimes they're really good things. Sometimes they're things that you can't wait to get rid of. But other times they're like things you're like, really? Do I need to leave this? And in the moments of sacrifice, you don't see what's on the other side. And I think when he asked us, originally when we first went to America and stayed in America, when they asked us, they said, hey, in America, they asked us, do you want a job here? Our first response was, no, we didn't come here to work, we came here for a year. Like, we have a good life in New Zealand. And then for us to stay meant for us to sacrifice like the life that we had here with our family, our friends. And then when God called us back, I mean, we had a great life, worked for a great church. And then God calling us back again, it was a laying down and a sacrificing for us to then come back to a place that was home, but it didn't feel like home. So I mean, it was difficult, but at the same sense, I love change and it was exciting.
Me not so much. God's working on me over the years, but
and we did actually want to come back to the story. Yeah, we wanted to go to South Auckland. That was always the goal. Is that right? Yeah. It's very sorry. I'm trying to pay attention. I'm like, what is that? So maybe the other coffee machine block. But yeah, we originally wanted to come to South Auckland. We're like, we're from East Auckland. We have pastor friends from East Auckland. Like, if we were to say we're coming back to East Auckland, we knew that would probably ruffle feathers. And like, East Auckland alone, I mean, has 100.5 million churches on like the street, Howick's main street alone. So like, we're like, but South Auckland it's an area that needs to be reached. So we actually tried. We started in South Auckland, and then God was kind, and He graciously called us back to where we back to our roots, into Howick, into East Auckland. And it probably was a little bit of kicking and screaming at the beginning, but the doors just opened, like unbelievably open. What we find is when you're following Jesus, and you're going the way that He wants you to go, even if you're not sure, He makes it easy. He makes it easier. Like, it might be hard, like the travel might be hard, but there's an ease about it. And as soon as we started looking back in East Auckland, man, there was an ease about it. Yeah. Doors opened, there was an ease about it.
What I'm hearing is, above all, the word kind of obedience. That stepping out to go to the States when he did, the move to kind of go on staff, to do those things while you were there, and then to leave that comfortable space again, to step out to kind of move towards South Auckland, thinking that was the place, and then finally kind of almost like having your fingers unfurled after trying to hold on. This is my plan, and this is where I want to go, and this is what I want to do. The obedience became the hallmark of the season that you were in, and just walking in complete obedience and faithfulness to what God was calling you. And so there's along the journey, there's always things that make the hallmark for us, the obedience that we walk in, but also then we start to see the faithfulness of God and how when He's called us to a place, how He provides and how He shows up on our behalf. And so what were some of those things, those defining miracles for us as a community and for you guys in your story that you started to see when it became apparent that East Auckland was where you're going to be planted?
Well, we had been looking for a property or a school or a hall or somewhere to be located out in the south. We kind of knocked on so many doors and they were all closing, and we were like, okay, God, it's getting closer to the day that we're supposed to launch. We actually ended up pushing the launch date out slightly, probably a couple of times. It was a journey, but as soon as we resolved, we finally got, I think our launch team had kind of maybe seen it before we had. They were like, guys, all of our support's coming from East Auckland, and we're like, yeah, but we're going and then we finally resided in our hearts that no, God was actually saying, this is your space, this is where I want you to be. And as soon as we reached out, this was one of the first schools that we reached out to, and Ed Roker, who was the principal here, an amazing man, he just said, absolutely, we would love to have you guys be part of this community, and we'll open the doors to you. They were so kind to us, and it was just like, okay, God, you know what you're doing, you've set us up, and you've made the way clear.
And God's always been kind like that. So when we were first moving to America, I'm going to tell a few different stories, so I'm probably going to go over time, but it's okay. I've got the microphone. So when we were first going to America, we were trying to go into this internship program, and the goal was to go in, I think, like June of 2015, and something happened with our visa stuff, so that got pushed out to December 2015. And then we're on a phone call with the guy who coordinates the college, and he's like, hey, look, we've actually lost our ability to accept overseas students, and we're trying to get it back. He's like, so what do you want to do? And I'm like, well, dude, God hasn't said no. He's told us to go, because I don't feel like this is a no, so I think we're still going to come. We'll just find a different way. So from that moment there, I hopped on the internet to find a spot to go to the American Embassy to get a visa. And there was nothing for 6 months, okay? Nothing. And you had to book 5 slots, because we have 5 in our family. So I booked 1 slot, and I'm like, I'm going to book 1 slot, and I'm going to ring them and be like, we've actually got 5 people. Mate, guys. So I booked 1 slot for a week away. And I rang them, I'm like, we've actually got 5 people. They're like, sorry, you have to book 5 slots. I'm like, yeah, but I booked this slot. 3 of those people are kids. Is that all right if we just come? And they're like, no, you can't come. And so we're like, so I hopped on the computer and I had to delete that slot. And I'm looking for 5 slots, and there's nothing. Nicole looks on her computer, and she opens it up, and there's 5 slots tomorrow. And I'm like, what do you mean? Tomorrow morning,
8:30 the next morning.
So I hit refresh, and there's all of a sudden 5 slots. So she books these 5 slots. The next morning, we go to the city. We get given our 10-year visa, and then I ring the guy, John Smith, the next day, and his name is John Smith.
Best name.
He was always like, why Mark, did you call him John? And I was like, dude, I rang him, I said, we're coming to America in a week's time. And he's like, what? From trying to get a visa for a year to getting a visa in one day. And then when we're coming, and the whole house thing as well, no one would rent us a house there because we had no social security, no job. So no one ever would go to houses and they'd laugh at us. And then just miraculously this one guy was renting a house because he wanted to demo it. And we were like, we'll live in it, and I think he laughed at us. But it was a miracle house. And then when we're coming back, another story, we're coming back in the middle of COVID. So 2021, we had to get a quarantine hotel. Every New Zealander that was abroad was trying to come back to New Zealand and get a quarantine hotel. We were talking to people and they're like, we booked our quarantine hotel for a year's time. There was nothing available. And we're like, well, we feel like God's called us to come back to start a church. And so...
And we'd resign from our job.
And we'd resign from our job. So we're in America with no job and no money. And we're like, we kind of got to come back. We can't keep spending the money that's meant to use to get back. So anyway, we're looking on this quarantine hotel website. Now you had to book your flights first and then the hotel, right? They make it complicated like that. So we go on the quarantine hotel and then all of a sudden, in July, there's a week available. And we're like, what the shit? There's a week. So we bring up Fiji Airlines, we book flights, and for the Fiji Airlines, and we go on the quarantine hotel website, and our flight's not there. So we ring Fiji, and we're like, hey, how come your flight isn't on the website? They're like, oh, well, because the flight doesn't actually exist. And we're like, what? What? Like, yeah, it doesn't exist. We're waiting to see if it gets enough people for it to be a viable flight. We're like, what? Like, you're taking our money. And then we're like, can we have our money back? And they're like, yeah, you can. It will take 6 months. And we're like, what? And so Nicole,
Fiji time, right?
Nicole's talking to her sister here, and her sister's like, oh, actually, a similar thing happened to us. We've got the CEO of Fiji Airlines number in New Zealand.
Casually.
So Nicole rings her, and she's like, I actually can't do anything, but here's the CEO's number in America. So Nicole rings her, and then gets hold of the CEO in America, and she's all like, oh yeah, sure, you can have your money back within a week. So we got our money back within a week. And all this time, that 1 month slot was still available. Like, unbelievably, still available. So we go on, we book Air New Zealand because we're like, we can't go wrong. We can't. And then we book our like quarantine hotel slots, legitimately go out, refresh it, all of those slots are gone. Like, it was unbelievable. And we talked to other New Zealanders, and they're like, how did you get quarantine hotel spots so fast? And we're like, we don't know, they were just there. You know, but it's the fingerprints of God through the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, and then we landed, did our 2 weeks in the hotel, didn't kill anyone.
Did anyone else do quarantine hotels? Is there anyone else out there?
Yes.
Yes, you know what it's like.
We had constantly the army knocking on our door, and these like 21-year-old army dudes, and like knock, open the door, and they're like, we've had some noise complaints from your kids. And I'm all like, I've got three kids, bro. We're not allowed out. And he's like, you need to keep it down. I'm like, we've got 3 kids, bro, and we're not allowed out. Like, you can't kick us out. Like, what are you talking about? We have to stay here. I'm sorry that they're children. They just look at me, and I'm like, what are you going to do about it? Like, this is New Zealand. If it was America, I'd be freaking out because they have guns, you know? They just have camo on. I'm like, I can still see you.
What I'm hearing though is like highways in the desert.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
it feels like all those roadblocks that were in your way. Actually, God's faithfulness had gone ahead of you in that season, and as you stepped into the call which was upon you, God just said, I'm going to remove all the obstacles. I'm going to put this highway in place, and you're just going to be able to go along at pace. And you know, so now that we're here in East Auckland, you guys are you're planting, and were you amazed that people kept showing up?
Guys,
I'm
every
always
week.
amazed at that sort of stuff. Like, you look around and there's actual people. What was
Every
that like
Sunday,
for you?
you know, like when we first started, actually, I would probably define that part of our season like a million little miracles, because we just literally had like little miracle after little miracle. If you ever want to come and have a chat with us, we could tell you hours of stories from that season. But I think it was God preparing us, like I said, in His faithfulness to trust Him to step out in the bigger things. We never would have been able to trust God to step out and start a church had we not trusted Him to step out from New Zealand and go to the States in those moments. But yeah, the families that launched with us, my goodness, so many of them are here today, and I am just in awe of the people that have stood by us right from the start and have journeyed with us. There's so many people scattered across this room today that were literally back when we started out south in our cafe, Urban Soul Cafe. We would be out there in the afternoons setting up, and so many. Renee and John were there. Jared, Ellie, Craig, the Russells. Yes, I know we're going to miss people now. Jackie down the back. Yes. Alicia and Nick.
We started with 30 people, so we launched with 30 people. We launched our organisation called ARC, which it stands for.
Dean and Shelley were there. Pam and Barry came to some stuff right at the beginning. I'm just naming people like that.
My wife doesn't like people feeling missed out.
No, I don't.
I'm all like, if I offend you, please email Nicole.
So you launched with ARC.
Yeah, so we launched with ARC, which stands for
something.
Association of Related Churches.
And they helped us launch. They gave us a $50,000 interest-free loan. But to do that, like they have their systems of how you launch, and they wanted us, and it was great. It was a great launching organisation.
Yeah.
Maybe not for the New Zealand setting, which they're trying to work through and adapt, but they wanted us to have 50 adults in our launch team, and we had 30 people, everything living and breathing. I mean, like if someone was
counted
pregnant, I
everybody,
counted
yeah.
twice. Like everything living and breathing.
The dogs.
Yeah, everything. And so I think 30 was even a stretch. But I was like 30 counting my parents who never come. Like they live like in Coromandel. I'm like, I'll just come and but I was talking to them, they're like, we've got 30 people, and the other guy, one of the old guys was like, yeah, look, we'll just let you launch. Like just go for it. So they ticked our boxes, gave us the loan. And what blows me away every time is like we launched with 30 people. And now we sit in a room where we have like 130 most Sundays with 180 people that would call to give a church their church. Like it blows me away.
Yeah.
Like that people would come. Like we went through a year or two, we just had new people every Sunday. It was blowing me away. Like I'm like, how are you even finding this church? You know, like I haven't figured out any of the SEO or whatever internet stuff that you do for Google. But like people were just coming, and it was blowing us away. People still do. And we count it such a privilege that people would come.
Yeah.
And just, obviously church. Like it blows us away.
So you had that interest-free loan, and the 30 people that are launching, that are part of the church plant, and it comes to the week of getting started, and the bank account's not looking as healthy as it was when that. Like, don't you love when that deposit comes in and it's all crisp and clean, and you can see all of the zeros at the end of it, and it feels like we've achieved something. And then the very first, bit of money comes out, and you're like, oh, that's painful. And then you realize that money keeps on dwindling. And so we find ourselves at launch, and there's, where there was lots of zeros, there's now just zero. Maybe not quite just zero, but there's just a small amount of money, and you're launching a church, and you've got people who are reliant on your community of people that have said yes to launching Together Church. And what was the step of faith like for you guys, and where did God meet you in that?
So with context, we didn't just go buy a boat with 50,000. So when we returned to New Zealand, a local church, actually this church, the guy up the top there praying for us, in that photo, his name is Billy Huffman, and his wife on the end, that's Jen. And then that tall guy in the middle, that's Andrew, and his wife is next to him behind Nicole, it's Erin. They were actually some of our first board members with Francine, but now they're they're off our board, and they sit in our overseers team. His church gifted us $30,000 when we left to start a church, to use however. And so that 30,000 saw us, because we thought when we were hitting the ground in New Zealand, we thought we were going to start straight away. We're coming to New Zealand to start a church.
We had grand plans, guys, and then COVID
happened and locked the country down for 120 something days. Like, people weren't meeting in churches, let alone starting churches. Like, our first interest meetings after that, we had to do two, one with masks, one with vaccines, and one without vaccines. You know, it was just the way the world was. It was weird. And I'm like, no photos, because I know there's more people in the room, you know? Like, I'm that guy, and Nicole's like, there's too many people. I'm like, no one will know. No one knew, but it was okay.
We're sensing a theme here, but...
Yeah. But so that 30,000 saw us through for 2 years. They got us all of our equipment, they got us our launch season, they got us, we had a cafe that we could use for free, but we still had overheads there. So it got us through that 2-year preparation. And then when it came to launch, so ARC wouldn't give us the loan until we started. That 50,000. So we were a week out from launch, and we had maybe not even $1,000 in our account. And there's only been a couple of times in life when I've said to Nicole, we don't have enough money to do what we wanted to do. But this is one of those times. So there was another time before in the States, actually I'll tell a story, it's a cool story. We had no rent, we lived on support for 2 years. We couldn't work in America for 2 years. We had no visas to work. So financially, people were giving to us. Amazing people were financially supporting us like missionaries for 2 years to study and basically work at a church for free. And we got to a point where our rent was $2,000 and we had just $2,000 in our account. And I said to Nicole, I looked at our account, I said, this is us. I think we're done. I think it's time to go back to New Zealand. We can't keep doing this. We can't do it. We're done. And like, kid you not, within 3 minutes, my phone rings and it's an executive at the church we're working for, and he goes, hey, we just finished an executive meeting and we're really thankful for all the work you're doing for free for us. So we've figured it out with our lawyers, we're gonna pay your rent, and we can do that legally. And we were just like, okay, we're staying. Like, unbelievable. And then so, similar situation, we had $1,000 and I'm like, I don't think we can start a church. And I'm like, I mean, there's plenty of other churches that look at pastors, like I'm sure I can find a church, like I'm not, you know, it's sad, but not the end of the world. So I go, I don't think we can start a church. And then we get this phone call.
Well, we had put in an application. Another pastor friend of ours had said you should really apply for this grant. There's a funding grant for planting of churches, and I recommend that you guys put in an application. So we had put that in, sort of left it there, hadn't heard back from them, and then literally like the week that we're getting ready to launch,
we reach out and say, hey, we'd like to support your church with $150,000 spread out over 3 years.
Isn't that incredible?
And then once we started the ARC, released the money. So we like hit the ground running. From we had no thousands, but God had all the thousands.
Yeah.
So we just like, that's what God does. Like, and I believe like that is the hallmark of this church. We're a faith couple that will push the boundaries of what God wants, and we'll keep pushing until something happens, until He moves. And I believe that. Like I've said, I believe there will be a building in our future that we'll own. I don't want to ever pay for a building. I want someone to give us a building. Come on, let's just believe for that. Like, let's just believe for that. Like, let's just. I said from the very moment we started this church, I said we're going to start a church, and I said I don't want no mortgage. Like, church, I don't want to spend like 50% of the income of this church to go on a mortgage. Are you joking me? Like, someone's going to give us a building. So I don't know. It will happen. Come on. But we just push, and we just push. And God just shows up. And that was the only other time I really said, I think we've come to the end. Right? God will bring you to the end of yourself sometimes before He moves and shows Himself.
I think it's like those 11th hour stories, and I think we've all had them. If you've been following Jesus for any length of time, I feel like often He works in a way that is so beyond our comprehension or our understanding that it actually takes us to the very end of ourselves, so we can't figure it out anymore in ourselves. And then He's like, "Hey, but I'm right there, and I'm providing. I've always been providing."
Look, I think if we'd all maybe be more comfortable if we understood the 11th hour was coming. However, God's timing is not our timing, and His ways are not our ways, and so often the thing that we think is the end is just giving way to a bend. It's a new thing that God's leading us on, and we have to continue to have faith for long enough for what God is doing, and that often is growing muscles of faithfulness in us and going, it's not our ways, and that builds some incredible resilience, because there's times where you have to dig deep to find that next level of faith and faithfulness, but God has provided, and the beautiful thing of that is it's not just a past tense, it's a present tense thing, and this isn't just built by us, it's built by God and His plans and His purposes. So for the past 3 years, Together Church has been a church plant, and you felt God call you back to East Auckland. He gave you provision, the finances, He gave you people. They kept on showing up, which is incredible. They showed up faithfully, and now we're in a new season. Would you still say that we're in the church planting phase, or how would you kind of define this season?
Yeah, I don't think we're a church plant anymore. I was always wondering when was the day that I'd have to say that we're not a church plant. We were a church that planted 3 years ago, but I wouldn't necessarily say that we're anymore a church plant. And there's different seasons that you're in your life and in as a church. And I think this year we're really shifting seasons. We've been in the church plant season, and now we're shifting into this new season, which, to be honest, we're still putting legs on what that's going to look like. But we can't say whether we're a church plant. So when people ask me what I do, I say I need to just say I'm the pastor of Together Church, not I'm the pastor of this church plant. And what that looks like for us is, I think it looks much the same. It's just different. There's different layers. We're still building. We're not building the church plant anymore. We're building the community of Together Church. And we're building out into the community. We're building the people. We're hoping to build more leaders. We're hoping to build more teams. We're hoping to build this spring. We're hoping to build our influence in this community. We always have said that we want to be a church that is known. And now, when we say that, let me clarify. I don't want to be a church that is known because of our flashy lights and our big services and our grandeur. I want to be a church that is known because of the work that we do in the community.
Yeah.
That is our heart, and I think this is that season where we're going to start doing more of that work. We've built in, and we see great people in this room, in this church. And it's time, I think, now to reach out and start building into the community, and building people, and showing up with people, and being the church, being Jesus with feet on, and being that to people.
Nicole, why do you think it's so important in this season that we're entering into, that every person that's part of this community would see themselves as a builder?
I love that. I love it because on our own we can only achieve so much. Martin and I have so much strength and energy in our tanks, but combined with everybody that I'm looking at out here this morning, like those of you who have called this your home and who have made this a place that you have brought your families and that you are sowing into. You guys are the builders of this place. Like, this is not an us thing. It never will be an us thing. This is a we thing. And this is us carrying this community forward and being present. Like, we often talk about, God building his kingdom here in Shelley Park and in East Auckland. And each one of us has been invited into that story. And I think it's so critical that each of you understand your part and that we are the church. This building, this four walls of this building is not the church. We are the church, and we are called to go out, and we are called to be the hands and feet of Jesus in this community. So, yes, you guys seeing your part in that and what you guys are doing and showing up and serving out there how you do. So, I'm so thankful for our kids ministry. Can I just say super grateful for what happens out there. I'm so thankful for those who show up here early on a Sunday morning and help to set this place up. This doesn't look like this. Funny enough, it doesn't look like this when we arrive here on a Sunday morning. It takes quite a lot of effort. So all of those different parts all play to make this a body. We all have different functions in that body.
Yeah. Do you know, I'm always aware of seasons of provision and seasons of the way that God pours out for us. And so, looking at the Israelites when they're in the desert, God provides in a really specific way. It's manna from heaven. It's it's quails, and they're every single day they're getting God's provision in that way. But as soon as they kind of step into the promised land, the provision looks different, and they now are tasked with something that they would feel really uncomfortable with. They now have to plant gardens, and they have to sow seeds, and the season is marked by change. And so in this season of moving from a church plant to kind of church building, it kind of the provision and the way that we kind of operate in this season looks different. And that's the same with God's faithfulness in this season to us as a people, is it starts to look different, and the requirement for us as a people starts to look different, and it looks to us as the people and says, okay, so now what? What are you doing? And we've seen the faithfulness of God. And just, when you fill a sponge and you squeeze it, the thing that's inside the sponge comes out in abundance. And I reckon every single time we give Martin the opportunity to talk about what God's doing here in Together Church, he'll tell you, the incredible amount of kids that we have on a Sunday. Let me squeeze you for a moment. What's some of the incredible stuff that we've seen God do here in Together Church?
Yeah, well, we do. We have over 50 kids on every Sunday morning out in the kids area, which blows me away. We have over 20 youth that would call this church their church, which we're trying to establish more youth programs for them and what that looks like. We've seen over 20 salvations in the last couple of years. We've seen life change. We've seen people coming back to church that have been away from church for a long time. People coming to church for the first time. We've seen God show people how good and how kind he is. It says, I can't remember that scripture reference, but it's his kindness that will lead people to repentance. Yeah. And I believe that he is showing so many people in this room how kind he is and how good he is. Yeah. And just for reference, with the number of kids we've had, I'm friends with a few of the pastors in some of the bigger churches. And they're hitting 20 kids on a Sunday morning. The fact we had services, I think the second year of our existence, we had services where we had more kids out there than we had adults in this room. It was real. The kids that are the families and the kids that are coming have exploded. It's unbelievable. And it's the kids that are drawing the parents in, which blows me away. And I think it's all tribute, like, to what God is doing, and to Nick and Alicia. Pastors are like, so what's your kids' strategy? I'm like, I hire a teacher who's married to a principal. Like, write it down. Like, just like writing it down. That's all we did, guys. Like, they're man. We're from the very beginning. We're like, we don't want screens. We don't want flashy. We want Sunday school. You know, like Nick brings out the felt board, and the kids are like, oh my gosh, it's sticking. You know, yes, it is. You know, like. And the kids love it. Like, memory verses, it's been amazing. Yeah, amazing.
You know, as part of the community, I've personally seen my own daughter get baptized, and just, you know, being part of that story myself and seeing just transformation within my own family is just wild. And you know, I think there's always an invitation. Church isn't just being invited on a Sunday morning for the first time. It's an invitation to becoming, and it's the idea that not one of us is Together Church as a singular, but we all become part of this collective church together, community together, doing life together. And so as we build together, there's obviously some financial steps of faith that we're taking as a church and as a community, as a collective. What are those key things? What are the finances that will help us build for this new season?
Yeah, I mean, to highlight some, I think we've gone through a season where we had the grant. The last installment of the grant came last year. And so we kind of like, it's almost like we've crossed through the Jordan, and we're in this new season of what it is to look like as a church. And we don't have that backing of the grant. Now that grant was amazing because it got us to do it.
Incredible.
It blew us away. And I think with the increase in growth in the kids ministry that we're seeing, like, we need to look at different strategy of how we manage like 50-something kids. I mean, Nick and Alicia are already stretched. We're potentially looking at another room league there and what that looks like financially. Even with like our sound gear, guys, like this sound system has lasted us 4 years. It's been amazing.
Shout out to our amazing sound team.
And it wasn't meant to be packed in and packed away every day for 4 years. So just like even just a practical need, we're looking at replacing our sound system. There's new technology that wasn't there 4 years ago when we purchased it, because we used to meet at a cafe, and that was the sound, like this was the sound system we used at the cafe. Like, it was a small space and a huge sound system. But there's technology now that wasn't existing. There's like digital technology that will make sound set up quicker. It'll make it easier to train people. It'll make it easier on a Sunday morning to do sound. Like, just for that alone is $3,000 for everything. So we're looking towards purchasing that kind of equipment. And then with the current season we're in, we're shifting as an organization. Because, you know, we plant a church, right? I started a church. I'm like, I can't wait to start a church and preach and love people and show them who Jesus is. And then someone's like, you know that there's all this not-for-profit stuff? And you're like, what? Like finances and policies and procedures? I'm like, what are you even talking about? And that's why I married my wife.
And so we have an amazing board as well that supports us through these things. But yeah, I think shifting forward, one of the areas that we would like to see some shift and change in is with our financial oversight, because at the moment I have basically been the one that has been stewarding that, and yes, I have those skills to be able to do that, and I actually love numbers, so I'm a bit of a geek like that. But moving forward, we would like to see that more outsourced so that we can have just more accountability for the church, to keep Martin and I safe as well, and just to be able to, you know, build a strong and healthy organisation so that we can move forward in a healthy way and in strength, and that if we are to, you know, be audited or anything at any point, that we've got really good systems in place. And I think we all, as part of the collective organisation, want the health of a community that is going to be strong and healthy, right? So one of those things is that we are looking to employ services outside of us to manage that whole thing. There's an amazing community-based organisation that basically provide for charitable accountancy for small churches and trusts and things like that, and they are very tuned into how everything works for the charitable sector. So that is one of the things, but again, it costs money, right? Everything costs, so we have to factor those additional expenses in as well.
Yeah, I mean, like, overall, everything. I mean, this church is, and I'm always blown away by how blessed this church has been. And I think first we have to thank everyone that does give financially into this church and give of their time and their talents and their efforts. Like when it comes to building a church, you can't build a church on the back of just 2 people. That's impossible. It's built on the back of a community. And that's what this church has been built on the back of the community. And moving forward, like our giving sits monthly around like 14,000 a month, which blows me away every time I look at that number. And to see these things happen that we need to happen as an organisation to kind of have more transparency, to be clearer, we do need to see that going from like around 14 to about 18, 100,000 a month. No, no, it's ain't big, mate. To around 18, which will help us to achieve just those things that we need to, and to be able to continue forward as a church. And well, okay, when it always comes to giving, I'm always looking at 2 things. Like I always ask God, like I don't want it to rest on the shoulders of the congregation, because it doesn't. It rests on the shoulders of God. Right. And the question isn't like, God, how can I force people to give? Because that's not who we are. It's God, give us a strategy moving forward. And so our prayer, and I want you all to know, moving forward, it's us, we're praying and asking God, what is the strategy moving forward for Together Church financially? And what does that look like? And if that looks like you giving, or more people giving, or upping your giving, or starting to tithe if you don't tithe, if that's fine. That's a conversation that you need to have with God, not with me. That's you and God. And that's not what I'm asking. But what I'm asking is that you just ask God. And what strategy? How can you join this strategy financially with Together Church? Yeah. And what that looks like for you. And we will always continue to look outside of the church for resources and finances to fund what we're doing here, because we believe that it is out there and we have experienced it. And to do those things, we just need the money to come up to this level so we can. And we have faith for it. We believe for it. We're not, guys. We're not dire straits right now. We're looking forward to and continue to grow healthy as a church and as an organisation. And we do look at some of those decisions.
Yeah, see, I think provision absolutely changes as the vision grows. If you look in the Old Testament, when it came time to build the tabernacle, there was this incredible list. If you're interested, go and read it. But some of the things that were asked for were things like porpoise skins. Porpoise skins, not dolphin skins, porpoise. There were an incredibly specific list of things that were asked for all of the community of Israel to come and to build the temple. Do you know what happened? They put that list out, they let everybody know. And they ended up having to turn people away, saying, we've actually now fulfilled all of the requirements and more. If you've got extra porpoise skins that you were going to bring, it's too late. We've already got 10. And, so please just keep it for next time. And I think for us as a church community, this is the step that we're stepping into in faith, that actually it's not just one of us, but it's all of us. It's thinking we, not just individually. And so some of those things like the sound desk, it might be that there's people in here that want to join together and make a single donation. It could just be as simple as that, and we get that. We just get it straight off the bat, and that's incredible. With the finances, it's at the beginning of this year, it's an incredible challenge to us all to say, God, what is it this year? What do you require of me this year? What am I standing in faith for? What is the story that you're writing in me individually, so that I can step into 2026 being faithful with what you've given me. So everybody in this room, everybody's been woven into this story, whether you're here from day one or this is your first day. You're part of this story. And if you've chosen Together Church to be your home, then this is the story that God's writing in your wider life. He's woven you into this place. And Martin and Nicole, you said at the outset some of the words that some of the things that you're looking forward to celebrating. And if we fast forward 12 months time, remind me what they were, because I didn't have a pen.
Mine were like strength, like strong families, strong marriages, strong communities.
Greater. Strengthening. Like this there's no part of that that says like, oh, we just need to look at your bank balances and make sure that you're all tithing and giving your, like it's strengthening who we are as God's people in this place. So strength and that greater influence, greater, just seeing the faithfulness of God in a greater measure. So so join us in generosity, being a church that is future facing. For the young people, for the kids that are sitting in that room out there, they're inheriting the church that we're building today. They're going to look at the legacy of the people in this room and say, we're standing on the shoulders of people who stood in faith. The youth ministry, and it seems funny because whenever we speak, if we speak in faith, we're literally sowing seeds of faithfulness. And what do you reap when you sow seeds of faithfulness? You reap a harvest of faithfulness. And so we may not have more than 20 young people in our church, but the reality is we're already focusing like that is a congregation of young people that is going to be built and is going to grow and it's going to add more people to it daily. I'm excited because our focus doesn't just say, hey, we've got the holy huddle. This is everybody in this room is like, now we can just chill. That doesn't seem like the church that I want to be part of. I want to be on the front foot, place that fills with vision and says, actually, we're building towards something that really makes a difference. So, at the back, there's a generosity our response kind of card. If you're giving already, that's incredible. If you're not, pray and ask God for kind of what the next steps might be for you. We don't do sermons on a Sunday that are just the giving sermons. You're not going to get that here. It's not going to be a 5-minute sermon and then a 1-hour giving message. This message comes from the overflow of what God's doing in us, so that we can be an authentic community where all people can know and experience the goodness of Jesus. This is what God is doing here. This is the story that you are being woven into. And this is what God is doing here at Together Church. And so thank you so much for sharing that story, for sharing God's faithfulness. Is there any kind of like one last story that you want to kind of leave us with, Nicole?
Yeah, I just wanted to speak to the generations of this church because I know we focus a lot on what is happening in the kids, but I just want to say thank you to every single person that is in this place because we are committed to being a church that spans the generations and that does life together. Like you'll see, I don't know if we're putting up the slide or not, but one of our things is that we do life together. The way that we do church is we do life together. We worship together, we grow together, we do life together. Yeah. And that is so key to me that we've sat in women's groups together with women from all different ages and stages, and man, it brings life when you're doing it together, when there's wisdom from the generations. So I just want to say thank you to all those that are part, not just the young families, but to our older generation as well. You guys are amazing, and we need you. We need you for this journey. We need to look ahead and get wisdom, and we need each other. So yeah.
That was as a worship team come maybe. I don't know. The kids are going to be running in soon. I was at a concert, church service last night, basically with my and during the worship, I got super emotional. I'm not a crier because I'm an ugly crier, so I'm not a crier. I got so overwhelmed, and I just was looking out at everything that was happening and the people worshiping. And part of the emotion was like, because this is what we had in Seattle. We're part of a great community, and I was like, God, like, why did we have to give up this? Like, why did we have to give up this? And then he said to me what I perceived him saying was that you may have given it up, but look what I'm going to establish through you. And what I believe is he's going to establish people hungry for his presence, hungry for him. Not just on a Sunday, but hungry Monday through Saturday for more of who he is. We can tell people as much as we want on a Sunday time in the face how good Jesus is, how much he loves you, how much he cares for you. But you know what you can do? You can go out to the streets, you can go out to where you work, you can go out to your family, and you can do the same. We can have a hunger for God that's not just contrived to Sunday, that doesn't just stay here, but such a hunger that we go out and people see it. Yeah. Our friends see it, and they're nothing but attracted to it. So that's I think if anything in the future, that's more of who we are. As a church that just, man, God just shines through us because of what He has established. Of what He has established.
Awesome. Well, let's worship. I think the greatest response that we can ever have to a message like that is to step in and kind of just say thank you to God for all He's done and that all that He will do, and our response being that we worship God and we thank Him.